All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another DC Worlds Collide video. This is Mr. Squarrel, and as always, glad to have you here. Let's talk about Lex Luthor. So this is going to be a mid-game review and overview of Lex Luthor, where he's at, my current build for him, and then we'll go over his skills, his badge. We'll look at some gameplay on different teams, and then kind of talk about transitioning into the late game with this character. Okay, so let's first talk about his skills. The first thing right now is his ult. It pretty much just gives everyone a shield based on 19% because at rank, I think it's rank 2 right now, or skill level 2. Gives everyone a shield based on 19% of his current HP. Last 2 turns, the only thing to take note about his ult is every single time he casts it, it will increase in cost by 1. It will increase in cost by 1 each turn. So the more he casts it, it can get very expensive, especially on longer fights, which with his team, usually they are longer fights, meaning his ult can be sitting at anywhere between 6 and 7 cost by the end of the fight, which is pretty ridiculous. So that is just something to take note of. Shorter fights, not too big of a deal. It is nice in the beginning of a fight because it is only a cost of 2. The other thing to take note about is ult. It does have a 3-turn cooldown, so that is a very long time. So just take note of that. The second thing, his basic attack. So attacks an enemy 2 times, each dealing physical damage, 42% of his attack power damage. So as you rank this up, its damage just goes up, but it does give himself Cloak. Cloak will block the next incoming debuff or control stats, which is very nice. Means that he can't get CC, harder to CC as a frontline tank. Now, his advanced skill. This is a really nice skill in the sense that what does it do is it pretty much just sends, he sends your highest attack power to go attack to whoever he's going to basic attack. So whoever is the target of his basic attack, he's going to send them the highest attack power character on your team to attack that person. There is a 25% chance that he will actually assist, bring in one other ally to assist that ally, which is really cool when that hits. And then if there's no one left and he's by himself, he'll just attack. And then as you rank this up, it will increase that assist chance to 30, and then that person who assists now gets a stack of strong attack. Strong attack, what does it do? Increases attack by 8% and block break by 5. So there you go. Very good for when you have like a hyper carry character like Hal Jordan, Sinestro, Deathstroke, any character that does an immense amount of damage, really high attack Wonder Woman. It's great because then they're just, getting another attack in that turn, in that round. So it is wonderful. Now his amplification field. This is his passive. So what essentially happens if Lex Luthor does not have a shield, he will get a shield. That shield will be based on 9% of his HP. For his badges, that will actually increase up to 21%, which is at badge 20. It goes to 21% of his HP. And then if he already does have a shield when his turn starts, then he will actually just bring in an ally to attack when he attacks with him. So he will either at the start of his turn get a shield, or he if he doesn't have one, or if he does have one, he will actually bring an ally to assist. So he's very good at like follow-up attacks with your highest attack ally. So the more you can keep shields on him, the better. So he's very good on a shield team because as long as he has a shield, he's always doing in this bring an ally into attack. This does change, however, if you have him at badge 30. Then he doesn't need a shield. He will always either A, get a shield if he doesn't have one, or he will bring in an ally to attack no matter what. So this will just always happen. So I think his badge 30 is very good for him solo. Finally, adaptive armor. Now this is what Lex will build up as a tank. So if you have a team that's very bursty in the beginning, I will tell you right now, the new Mr. Terrific team actually counters Lex pretty hard because what essentially it does, Lex needs to build up, and Mr. Terrific team is like, let's be super crazy OP for the first 3 turns, and that does counter Lex pretty hard. The only thing though is that the shields in general will give superpower damage, like it decreases superpower damage, so that there is that just to take note of. But as you rank this up, it's just he gets this, the more allies attack, the faster it goes up. That's pretty much the best way to describe it. There you go. Now pretty much overview of what does Lex Luthor do. He is pretty much a wall, like a shield tank that is good at supporting your entire team with giving them shields, and then he does almost 0 damage, but he brings in your highest attack ally to attack more often. So it's really nice when you have an ally who has a really interesting basic attack. For instance, Guy Gardner has a really awesome attack that he can hit multiple times. Synergizes very well with Lex Luthor because of how this kind of operates. So there's like really cool combinations that you can do with Lex and different DPSers and how they kind of attack. So there, just take note of that. If a character has a unique and very interesting basic, Lex Luthor can do some very cool stuff with having that character do more and more basic attacks. Another character that, like, for instance, Superboy, the more he uses his basic attack, the stronger his attack power goes up. So Lex Luthor can actually supercharge Superboy by making him do more and more basic attacks. That is very good with like a burn team. He's just making Superboy just do an immense amount of damage. And before you know it, Superboy's at max stack. He's got like 45% increased attack power, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. So let's talk a little bit about his badge. Now, his badge, I'm going to go here and we're going to talk a little bit about, I think overall it is a good badge, but it is not about buffing his team. It is actually about buffing himself. So what it does is it actually increases that turn where he has a self shield. When his turn starts, he gets a shield on himself. What it will do at badge 20 is instead of being about 9% of his HP, actually, I think I said earlier was 21, it actually goes up to 18%. I apologize. So it just doubles it. But that's a significant jump in terms of a shield if he does not have one. It will make him a better tank. So at rank 10, it's a very small increase of 3%. This is not his ult, at least the way this is framed, is that this is only, let me show you. So when you look at so it's amplification field. It applies to his amp field, which is this right here. So starts at 9. For him, it will go up an increase by badge 20 of another 9%. So it just doubles the shield. But one other thing it does at badge 20 that's very important to take note of is that additionally, while the shield is active, and I assume this is any shield, is the shield, I don't know if it can distinguish between the shield he's giving and another shield. He himself, at least while the shield is active, increases defense by 20% and crit resistance by 20%. Now, if that's only the shield he is applying, I'm curious if I just unlocked this badge. So I'm pretty sure it's just if he has a shield on him. I don't know if it can distinguish which shield that would be. I mean, if it can, that is something to take note of. But essentially, while this shield is active, he gets 20% more defense and he gets crit resistance by 20%. So it does make he himself much tankier. So long story short, do I think his badge 30 is worth it? I mean, it can be. There's one thing I do want to take note about Lex as you move into the late game. I do think his badge 30 is very good. Also because of, as you tier up a legendary character, they do get damage reduction. The tanks get damage reduction. They do become a lot tankier themselves. That makes them overall, like, it is good. But I do want to go over his leader skill and some hesitation that I have, especially as we move into the late game. At rank 7, I do think, rank 7 right now, what it's at is I think this is one of the better universal leader skills in the game. All deployed allies 8 attack, HP, defense plus 9% during battle. Allies gain 12% damage reduction while their shield is active. Any shields up, they got 12% damage reduction. I think it's a beautiful leader skill. I actually think currently it is one of the better leader skills, but as we move into the late game, I think it does lose a lot of value when we compare it to other leader skills because it is no longer dependent on you. It is dependent on the enemy. And so what adds to this? So everything stays the same, except now you get one new sentence. When enemies sacrifice HP, gain 20% of the sacrificed HP as a shield with no duration for all allies. So it is completely dependent on a sacrifice team that you're going up against. Now, if you do go up against a sacrifice team, he's amazing because then he's giving even more shields when people sacrifice. So if you're going up against a Constantine and like a Dr. Fate, he's going to be doing some redonkulous level stuff in terms of shields. Like your team, I think, would almost always have a shield up. It'd be almost impossible to get through this team's shielding. However, if you're not doing that, then this literally has zero value. I do not like the team synergies that are dependent on the enemy you're fighting because then it becomes very niche, and niche in these games is cool, but it means that it's not applicable to all scenarios. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over some different teams. I'm going to kind of show him on my main team, and then I'm going to show him some, which is a shield-based team with a Lantern Core, and then we're going to go through and look at him on a team that is not as based around him. so that way we can see kind of how he operates on optimal teams versus not so optimal teams. All right, let's go to an event. All right, so here we are. We are at 2412 right now. As you can see, I don't have him lined up with Frankenstein. I normally like to put the main DPS and him right next to each other. I do this because because it will essentially just make that whatever character you're going up against, they're going to be getting hit by whoever your main DPS is twice in a round, which is very, very deadly, especially if you're using like a hyper carry team. Like my team right now is pretty much keep Hal Jordan alive so that Hal Jordan can do crazy damage. So as we're going to see right now, we're going to kind of watch him do his thing. I'm going to put this in a little bit slower. So normally I run this on ×3, but we're not going to do that here. So there we go. There you can see I'm actually going to put his shield up right away. Actually, you know what I did? There was a problem there. No, we're fine. We're actually fine. Because what I'm trying to show in this case is that, so that's a pretty hefty shield. Now, actually, there's one thing that I did want to cover that I didn't go over is that he has a lot of good artifacts. You can either run Bane on him or you can run Atlantean Shield. Both are very good artifacts for him. I would not run the block artifact because block and shields don't synergize. I've already done a video on that. You can go find it on this channel. But as you can see right here, so in this case, I'm kind of spreading out the damage. That I'm not too concerned about this because so he already lost his shield. One of the reasons I like Jess on this team is because now he's got 12% damage reduction again. And then Hal Jordan doing Hal Jordan things. We've got that. Perfect. Okay. We're going to put this up so I can see if I can reduce some healing. All right. Now, take note why I like, there we go. So he attacked, but now if we pause right there and we look at that, in that scenario, he didn't have the shield at the start of turn, so he did not bring in Hal Jordan to attack. So he instead got the shield itself. So if there is that give and take, that's where badge 30 would be really nice because then he gets the shield. He also brings in the person to attack. Okay. Okay, there we go. We got this. I'm waiting. So you're probably wondering, why am I waiting so long right now to attack? It's because I am currently waiting for Hal Jordan to get his the chaos thing to proc. There, this is what I'm waiting for. And now I'm triggering that ult. Because now it has a 25% damage amp on it, which will make this thing hit like a truck. Okay, that's some good damage. Again, we're going to try to see if we can get some stuns going here, so that way I can try to heal up Lex Luthor. Okay, that was not exactly what I was looking for. There we go. Now we got the heal here, so this is good. And then we're going to actually put up another shield in the middle of these attacks so that he can survive. Because remember, every time someone gets a shield, that's 12% damage reduction. It's very, very nice. Okay, that hurts a little bit. Again, these are green. Okay, she just got, oh, no, that's right, because that was she has a different artifact on now. All right, Hal Jordan. All right, there we go. Now, that was not smart to do that right there, but that's besides the point. My brain was thinking, all right, heals, this is good. All right, now, we're going to get oh, he's already dead, never mind. So that was like right there. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to see if Hal Jordan can go in a second. And this might work. It might not. We'll try. I'm going to try to do one more round of this. See if we can get Hal Jordan. Yeah, this might do enough. Okay, let's see if I can get enough damage going here. Not enough. This is probably not going to work. Okay, so we're going to restart here. One of the things that you can see, though, is that he does give a really big shield. It is important to note, though, that 3-turn cooldown is really, really, really can be harsh. Because it does overall hurt that in this case, he can't, like, he was so close to getting that shield back up again, he could have lasted a little bit longer. So we'll try this again. Um, I do just want to take note that I do think I cast a little early there. I'm actually going to cast Hal Jordan's here because I'm trying to kind of, you know what I should have done? That was actually very, very dumb because I always try to alt right before or right after Kid Flash does his heal, so that way pretty much just negates it. And again, you saw he brought someone in to attack. There we go. Now what I do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to, is we don't really need the shields right now. Also with the Atlantean helmet, he gets a heal. I want to kind of save that. It's like a really good heal. This will go straight to Lex. Perfect. There we go. Now he's got a 12% damage reduction. Okay. And John will, so no matter what you do here, that Frankenstein's ult hits so hard. That's why I'm not even trying to ult with John Stewart, because it does hit. And then he gets the shield. There we go. I'm going to put the shield up on everyone. That way when Hal goes again, he will have a massive shield. And then there you go. You see the Atlantean help. It heals him. He's good. So now his health went back up. That way in the first turn, I wasted that heal. It was kind of annoying. Okay. That shield was very, very nice. It does give, see, it gives that nice 12% damage reduction. All right. We're going to do this right now. I'm going to see if I can get a stun. Okay, that, it was really, really good. Okay, what we're going to do here, and then we're going to heal with Kid Flash. So I can get it. That's okay. Seriously? Oh my goodness. That actually really, okay, so we'll try one more time. I apologize. But as you're seeing, I mean, he is going up against green enemies. That is something to take note of. It is, he does take kind of a lot of damage. He is also struggling now as like a main tank. I think everyone's kind of struggling as a main tank. So I'm not taking this too much into consideration as like, oh no, he sucks. He's very, very good. But he is starting to struggle a little bit because it takes him a while to build up, which is why I'm also running Kid Flash on this team, because he himself is not enough to sustain the team anymore, especially at these higher deficits. He is very good. I'm just taking note, though, there is these things to consider. That Kid Flash, I think, especially as you get into the later game, is really, really important with him. Now, since he had the shield, that was a little weird. All right, we'll put the shield up here. And then we got the heal. He was gone no matter what. That's 12% damage reduction. And he still has a 12%. There we go. That hurt. It's okay. So the next time I know, the next time that the ults come up, I am actually going to proc. Okay, we got this. Let's see if we can get the stun. That would be great to get the same level, like all 4 stuns again. I doubt that will happen. Ooh, that's very good though. Okay, we're going to do the heal here. And then we're going to also do, see that way, now I know. Now we'll do Hal Jordan. All right, because now that goes straight into damage. Okay, more damage. That's good. Can't, yep, that shield did help him survive, and now he's dead. That's okay. This is a very hard level. All right. I am wondering a little bit. Okay, now the next thing. So Kid Flash is kind of a problem on this team that I'm going, that I'm. All right, so we've got this. And that's Jessica Cruz going. Again, you can see in this video that he really does want other characters that are shielding. It does, those little shields are very impactful. And it does, and they're gone. So man, that Frankenstein ult is very, very, very damaging. Also take note, this team is very tanky, but it does struggle in doing damage, which is what I wanted to highlight with Lex Luthor. He does struggle a little bit to do damage in the sense that you're getting damage reduction. You're not getting a lot of like bonus damage, right? So then I'm going to quit here. Let's go to another place where maybe he's not running in the most optimal setup, where we can kind of see him doing his thing, where it's maybe not as high as a deficit either. All right. So we are no longer even at a deficit anymore. We're actually at a bonus. I actually think this is where Lex Luthor really strives because in these scenarios, what ends up happening is that the other team will struggle to just kind of get through his shield. The other thing to take note of, what is Lex Luthor very weak to? He is very weak to characters that do a lot of damage up front. Single target will kind of screw him up. However, for characters that do a lot of AoE damage, he's very good against AoEs because then you're kind of getting through, you have to get through all of the shields across all the characters. He can be very annoying in AoE teams. However, against single target teams, he will get massacred. So that is something to take note of. So let's watch him in a less deficit. This is team that I'm running is not optimized at all. Pretty much the best character here is Lex Luthor. Sinestro is not built. I pretty much am just running a whatever team because this is the villain convergence. And as you can see, though, once I start his ult, it will be almost too much for the other team to handle. There is a Constantine on the other team. That Red Hood could be slightly a pain in the butt. But again, one character that I think is very good with him. Ooh, we'll just speed this up a little bit. That I really like is actually Bizarro. Because Bizarro actually removes one of his weak points, which is he does take kind of a lot of damage. He takes a long time to build up. However, Bizarro can offset that by being in the back and heal and like taking 25% of that damage, right? So in those single target teams, Bizarro can actually offset what's his name? Lex Luthor's weakness, right? Actually, the more I'm kind of playing this, the next team I would really like to run would actually be a debuff team similar to this setup with a few replacements. Actually, it would be this team. So I think if you actually add Kid Flash to this team and then just like super amp Sinestro, this team works out really, really well because, and then I would run this actually on Sinestro's leader skill versus Lex Luthor's as we move to the late game. This might actually be my third team that I'm working towards. So the second team I'm thinking about because I want to move out of the shields a little bit simply because that leader skill of Lex is not the best in the late game, but he himself is still a phenomenal tank. Also on this comp, since you're running with Sinestro is like always going to be the one you're pulling into attack. He's giving slow. He's doing these fear. Sinestro is a phenomenal single carry. Like you hyper carry him and Lex Luthor is doing a wonderful job. Again, Lex is very good if there are other characters on the team that are mitigating some of this damage. He really needs help with the mitigation and sustaining. But if you run a very tanky team with him and then like a debuff tank team, I think that shield is very good because it's not your only form of sustain. On comps where his shield is like your main form of sustain, he is going to struggle because once that shield is off, his leader shield does just kind of disappear and you run into some pretty severe issues in terms of your character staying alive. The other issue that does happen when you're running that leader skill is then you're also not doing a lot of damage to compensate for that, which creates more issues in terms of like the long-termness of this team. And so you need more ways to sustain. And if that's there, then yeah, Lex I think is doing wonderful. It's just, again, I don't like his rank 10 leader skill. I think it is very niche and does not, I mean, if sacrifice becomes this really big thing as the game progresses, then yeah, I could see it being very impactful. But overall, I just think he is a good tank that can keep a tanky team alive, but will struggle himself to stay alive because he's more about keeping your whole team alive versus just keeping himself alive. But at the same time, on a hyper carry team, like per se this one, where I have one damage dealer who's doing a lot of work, he thrives very well because of how he just keeps everyone alive. He keeps bringing in my Sinestro, as if he got even further built, he's doing just left and right damage. He's attacking all the time because he's getting, as people apply debuffs, he's just attacking, getting more action bar, and then, Lex is bringing him into attack, and then when he's attacking, he's also inflicting debuffs. You can see how it can get very much out of control, right? But Lex does need some form of help so that he himself can stay alive, which Bizarro does take over, which is why I like Bizarro with him. But Bizarro is also very good on a debuff team with Sinestro. So as you're seeing, this team is actually very, very competent in the way that it operates. And it's something that I personally think in the future I probably might run more of. I think this might be one of my third team that I run, and a team that I'm really curious about investing further in. And so again, the last thing I'm going to do is just my general review of Lex Luthor. I think he is a very good character. I do think he's falling off just a wee little bit. I do see why as a tank he does get ranked a little bit lower. That change that they made to his ult where it increased in cost does, especially in longer fights, become a problem as the fight goes on. Overall, though, I think he's an amazing character. He is very free to play, and I would say every character should pick him up because of his versatility. He is amazing in hypercarry teams with one main DPS, and that DPS is just doing crazy stuff. So overall, do I think you should invest in him? I do. I think he's a very good character. He has helped me get to chapter 24. But at this point, I am starting to see a couple of the flaws in his kit, in terms of the simple fact that his leader skill late game is going to be slightly challenging, which means then you want to move away from his leader and you want to start thinking about shields being operating in a little bit of a different way. If his leader had been a little bit better, especially his rank 10, like it had done something more like increases damage, like people that are shielded increase their damage by 10%. I think that would have been very different. And I think that would have made shields a lot better long term. But for right now, I think he is an amazing character that I will continue to invest in. He will be a staple on most teams that I'm running. And he's an overall great character. But at the same time, just take note, as the game does advance, we get better leader skills. His leader skill will fall off. I'm just being honest, unless there is some huge push for sacrifice or there's a sacrifice boss. This leader skill may be power crept as time goes on. That's all I want you to take note of. Overall, though, you should invest in him. He's a phenomenal character. All right, folks, that's it. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. And remember, failing is just your first attempt in learning.